So tonight's talk is Travel the Path of Bhakti Yoga. In the Charitamrita describes that love for Krishna is eternally established in the hearts of all living beings. It's not something to be gained from another source, an outside source, but it can be awakened by hearing and chanting. So tonight's talk, the path of Bhakti Yoga, I mean, everyone's on a path. You know, there's a kind of New Age philosophy that's been around for a long time saying that all paths lead to the same place, and that's not logical at all. If all paths led to the same place, you could go anywhere and end up here. You could travel west and end up here. That's not going to work, right? So in our practical life, it's very easy to see. You know, it doesn't make sense to say all paths lead to the same place. You know, in medicine, you would go to a doctor if you know, all paths lead to the same place. You do whatever you're doing, and all paths would lead to the same place, right? And those spiritual teachers would come and speak, because what would they have to say? You know, all paths lead to the same place, and you know, they don't need to speak, right? So it's not a bona fide teaching from the Vedas. All paths lead to the same place. So different paths lead to different places. You know, we can live a certain way. If I live like an animal, then I'm going to go on the path towards animal life. If I live like a saintly person, I'm going to head on the path towards a saintly life. You know, you can't just, you can't just do what you want and end up in the same place. So we're all on a path, and we're on a path hoping to achieve happiness. And our life is generally about serving our own senses. Where, you know, sometimes people talk about self-love. You know, we all have so much concern about ourselves. You know, brought this up before, you know, if there's a fire in a nightclub, or you hear about a fire in a nightclub, you know, everybody's trying to get out. You know, whether they trample over anybody or you know, everyone's trying to get out, because it's self-love is so strong, right? Their own self-protection. And there will be a few heroes that will actually care more about other people than themselves, and they will stay and they will try and make sure everybody gets out safely. But generally speaking, it's another kind of new age thing that, you know, we need to love ourselves. It's like we already have a lot of care. Jesus taught that first we love God and then we love others. It wasn't first we love ourselves and then we love others and then we love God. It was like a very specific order. First we love God and then we love others as much as we care about ourselves. Okay? So we all care about ourselves, and our goal in life is trying to find happiness and fulfillment for ourselves. You know, so we wake up in the morning, it's like, what am I going to eat? What will give me sense gratification? You know, maybe if I have this, or maybe I have that, or, you know, I mean, all the way through the day, and the mind comes through with, what about this? And then we're actually devoted to our senses, and we try to satisfy our senses. The bhakti means devotion, but bhakti yoga doesn't mean devotion to ourselves. Yoga is a union of the soul with the Supreme Soul. Yoga meaning you, the living being, temporarily within this body, united in a loving relationship with the Supreme Soul. That's actually the meaning of yoga. It's not exercises or anything. It's actually a loving relationship, a connection, and love. So Bhakti Yoga means a loving connection with the Supreme Soul. That we use our life, we use our time, our energies, whatever abilities we have to try and serve the Supreme Person. And basically, most of us don't really like that idea that much. Like, what about me? How am I going to be happy? You know, what if I want to do something and that's not what God would like me to do? You know? So we're not usually that attracted to the idea of serving God. When you love somebody, you're attracted to the idea of serving them. Like I was down the beach this morning, there was a lady, really lovingly holding her baby and trying to keep it shaded from the sun. Devoted. I mean, it's what a real mum is, right? Is someone who's actually devoted to their baby, and they will take amazing care of them, and they will put, because of their devotion, their love for the baby, they will put the baby's needs first. So the baby cries in the middle of the night, they don't go, I'm just going to shut the door and put some earplugs in. They actually devotedly serve the baby. And if someone were to say, you can sleep right through the night, I'll take the baby for you, I'll have the baby at my house and you sleep through the night. And the mum would go, no, I prefer to suffer because I'm actually enjoying that devotion, I'm enjoying that sacrifice, that service. That makes sense. It makes sense to all the mums, right? So, we serve our friends. We may not think we serve our friends, but we do. If you analyse the different activities, we do serve our friends. Maybe they say, well, let's go this place, and you want to go somewhere else. But you think, okay, I prefer to, do something they would like to do. That's actually a form of service. Now, service is a natural part of the living being. Our nature is to serve. It's an inherent, intrinsic nature of the soul is to serve. And so who are we going to serve? Who are we going to devote our life to? Because where we devote our life, that's where our heart will be, and that's the direction we're going. So if I devote my life, if I get some, little fluffy dog or something, and I devote my life to the dog, we've probably all seen, you passed a car and a parked car and there's, clots in the back, and have you ever seen a picture of the dog that's obviously died? Has anybody seen that? I saw it one time and I was like, whoa. So the dog's blankets were still there, and photo about this big, the dog sitting there. Now the person, especially kids grow up and they live home, and people can feel a bit empty nest, and then I want to serve someone, I want to love someone, like walk around with a little black bag and you pick up after your dog. It's like a devotional service, you're serving your dog, right? And so that's going to lead to a certain kind of consciousness. But the consciousness that the great spiritual teachers tell us to try to achieve, and the Supreme Person himself, is a consciousness of loving service to God, where my life, my activities, my will is all dovetailed to the Supreme Person. It's actually what I think about in my life, the activities that I do, the way I treat somebody is going to be based on, well, I'd prefer to yell at them right now, but I know that wouldn't be pleasing to God, so I will do what's pleasing to God. Do you understand that? It's like that's our service. The main service that we can perform in the process of Bhakti Yoga is chanting. Right? When we chant the names of God, he really enjoys it, Just like sometimes people, then it might get into music, or there might be some famous pop star or whatever, and they like to hear their own voice, they like to hear people sing their praises or say how wonderful they are. They might like to hear, whether it's a professor at something or, whatever it might be, kind of feel that little sort of puppy, that, someone's praising me. And it doesn't feel right. Like, you may have experienced that yourself personally, kind of somebody says something nice about you, you kind of feel like this little puppy kind of feeling, Someone says something horrible about you and it's like, ooh, you feel deflated, Krishna's different. He's not conditioned by material nature, right? He's the controller of material nature. So it's actually his natural function to enjoy us rendering loving service to him. And it's in his natural function to hear us and enjoy us chanting his names. And the reason he enjoys us chanting his names is because his names are so beautiful they even attract him. But he knows also that it will give us life. And so he's happy when we chant because he knows that's going to give us the life, the happiness that we need. And Krishna is the supreme happy person. is never unhappy. God is the supremely happy person. He has everything under control. And so when we serve the supremely happy person, we're going to experience happiness naturally. Right? If you serve a miserable master, maybe you have a miserable boss, you're not likely to feel happy, right? We've all experienced that one. A miserable boss makes you feel pretty miserable, and you have to do a lot to try and overcome that. A happy master, a happy boss, you're quite happy to go to work, because the atmosphere is going to be nice. The person's nice, right? They're happy. The Krishna is a supreme happy person. And so when we're loving and engaging in Bhakti Yoga, loving devotion to the Supreme Person, we're naturally going to be happy. Right? Serving the supremely happy person. So Krishna really wants that. And so he sends his representatives and to try and teach us and encourage us. This actually is your natural condition, to be engaged in Bhakti Yoga, loving service to the Supreme Soul. That is our natural function eternally. We can never actually get away from service because it is innate. We're always going to be serving. And we come to the material world because we want to be independent. We don't want to serve. So we come to the material world and we try to serve ourselves, our senses, our family, but we never quite experience that real fulfillment that we're seeking. And that is because naturally, as a spirit soul, part and parcel of the Supreme Soul, when we're united in love with the Supreme Soul, that is the ultimate in spiritual happiness. That is the ultimate goal of life. And so if we can travel the path of the great spiritual teachers, they've already made a path, and they say, do these things, this will help, don't do these things, that'll take you off the path. And so like if you follow someone's footsteps along the beach, you go where they go. So we follow in the footsteps of the great spiritual personalities, the great spiritual masters, then we go where they go. They already know the pitfalls, they know the things that'll take us off the path of Bhakti Yoga. And so they encourage us what to do and what not to do. That our friends and our family may be encouraging us to engage in some other activities, that if we can remember, I'm actually part and parcel of the Supreme Soul. The ultimate goal of life is to render loving service to the Supreme Soul, to be onto the steady and secure and determined on the path of Bhakti Yoga. And that relationship of spiritual love will give us the nectar that we're always seeking. The path of Bhakti Yoga, like I think in the Bible it said about, the path towards God, the gate is narrow. Right? Because not many people are actually really interested in loving service to God. We're much more interested in trying to serve our own senses, our own desires. We've been conditioned for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes to be concerned about, our body and our mind and our senses. We have this really strong conditioning. And so the process of chanting is one of the methods, a primary method that will actually purify us of all that contamination so that we can redirect our love and our desire to be active into the loving service of God. Activity is your nature. Right? The corpse doesn't act. Activity is the nature of the soul. Loving service is the nature of the soul. Namaste. Thank you very much.